Casting from the basement of La Penta, it's WICR.
I have come into this station hundreds and hundreds of times, and every single time mainly with the agenda of talking about sports, not really anything that in the real world matters that much, but as you kind of go through life, your priorities change and things in your life certainly change. And to me now, I find myself more invested in the future of my country than I ever have at any point in my life. And I think I've always been very lucky that from a young age, my parents put me in a position where I always understood that my reason and my place on this earth was because other people sacrificed so much so that I could be here. And largely, I think the history of America is just that. And our flag, the reason why it bothers me so much when people kneel and people don't respect the flag is because the flag tells a story, and it's a story that's unlike anyone else's history. I mean, you can go around the world. Everyone has done some great things in the history of the world. Some people have done a lot of bad things, but a lot of great things have been done. A lot of people have stood up for the things that have mattered. But the thing that makes me the most proud to live in the country that I do is because our country was founded on the principle of doing the right thing, of building a society where anyone could try to have a chance of being able to build a life built around doing things the right way. There hasn't been any point where we were afraid to shy away from a fight or shy away from a challenge. Any time that we were threatened or there was some injustice in the world, we were always there at the forefront, ready to combat it, because we were founded on the principles of standing up for what is right. And to me, that's the real reason I get so upset. But obviously, we're in such a dynamic and interesting climate right now with election season, the first debate last night, and my big takeaway from it is, look, I don't care if you're supporting Trump, if you're supporting Hillary, it doesn't really matter of that. What the bottom line is our country is in big trouble. I have not in my lifetime have I ever seen our country so divided over just something as simple as standing up for the flag. Now, there are even more issues on the forefront, and it's not just that, it's that we have enemies foreign, we have enemies domestic, we have enemies everywhere who really are just compiling on top of all the problems we already have. And it's one thing if you have an enemy far, far away, but when you have enemies on the inside, and that just compiles all the other problems that you have, it just adds more and more and more to it. And, you know, I look at it, and leadership really is a big part of it. And we've been lucky throughout the history of our country where I've always felt in the periods where our fate and really our security hanged in the balance, we had the right person at the top of the helm to see us through. Abraham Lincoln, of course, is the very first of all. The Civil War could have destroyed our country, and for all intents and purposes, it really should have. When you look at the Civil War and what it did just in terms of inflicting death upon this country, I still think sometimes, I don't know how we were able to get out of that. Even we were so vulnerable to overseas, just from overseas enemies during that time because we were so split and we were so divided. But the thing that got us through that was the man in the White House, and that was Abraham Lincoln. I think, again, you go back to that point, sometimes you just have the right person in the right place at the right time, and that is exactly what you need to get you through the darkness. And Abe Lincoln was the perfect guy, and I don't think anyone else in our history could have ever seen us through that difficult time. And then you go to FDR during the Depression, getting us through World War II. That's another one of those instances where our fate hanged in the balance, but the right man was in place to see us through that difficult time, and we came out of it, even with his horrible, with his death, unfortunately dying. But we still made it out of that stronger, and then we prospered for a long time because of that, and then we hit an unfortunate bump in the road where our morale was down. Coming out of the Vietnam War, there was so much uncertainty with that. People that time were unhappy, and then we have a guy like Ronald Reagan who comes to the forefront, who I think brings back the patriotic principles, makes us remember who we are, what we've sacrificed to get to this point. That wasn't an easy time in our history as well, but the right guy was at the top and saw us through the darkness. We're at a point now in our history where I think we're in that exact same spot. We're not maybe in as dark of a situation as we have been in those other ones, but we're getting there. We're getting to that point where the darkness is setting in. And that's why, to me, this election is so unfortunate, that we can't really have someone we're just so happy to have there, that we're so trustworthy in. I think no matter how you spin it, there are things about Trump absolutely not to like, and there are things about Hillary Clinton obviously not to like. And the mere fact that, I mean, these are the best two people that we have right now to lead our country, that says a lot. And I think it's one of those situations where this is the period now where we need that person like we've always had, where we're in desperate need of that leadership to make things better, just make things better from a domestic standpoint, from a foreign standpoint. We need someone who has strength and who has just the moral decency and just does things because it's the right thing to do. To me, that's really what has happened and why we've fallen so far, is because we've forgotten who we are. And, you know, history, it's that old adage, history repeats itself, and it certainly does. And I always think back to the Roman Empire. And to me, the Roman Empire lasted 507 years. At the height of their power, if you told anyone that the dream of Rome would ever come crumbling down before them, I don't think anyone with the height and the power that they had, the revolutionary ideas, the democracy, the principles, the guiding principles they had, would have ever thought that it all would have come crashing down. There are many reasons why Rome fell. Things like the bubonic plague, things like many big things, small things. But to me, I think the biggest reason why Rome fell, and one of the things we're in big danger of doing as well, is they forgot who they were. Rome was founded on the principles, like we were, of having a republic, having freedom, having innovation, new ideas, advancements in the arts and the sciences, having a strong military who would always stand up for anything. Now, it was obviously a different time and age there, and it was more of a conquering day and age there, but the militaristic principles there aren't too far off from where we are even to this day, because war certainly isn't something that has ever eluded us at any point in our history, but that's one of the prices we pay for the way that we live. And I think one of the big reasons why Rome did fall is, again, they forgot who they were. The political corruption, the political just overarching system that they had, it became about the power, it became about the money, it became about people backstabbing and political just fighting, bickering, no one able to get along, no one trusting ideas, people just going with whatever the power structure wanted, people just seeking power because power is what they wanted and not doing things because it was the right thing to do or because it was the good thing to do. And I think we've gotten to a point in our country with our political structure where people don't hold office anymore because they want to make the world better, because they want to. That's not to say everyone, but I think largely our political system has become something where people want it because they're doing it for the wrong reasons and not for the right reasons. And we are in major danger of forgetting who we were. And I put out a tweet last night, and I truly believe it in every fiber of my being, that the only way that we can build the future is that we have to look to the past for strength to guide us in our future, because we have to remember who we are, what we were founded upon. Our founding fathers, they didn't hold office because they wanted power. They held office because they were trying to create an idea, to create a better world for everyone. And while politics on its face is designed exactly to do that, that's not what it's there for anymore. Now it's there for holding power and just agenda setting and other things like that. It's not about creating a better world anymore. It's about putting your party in a position. It's about money. It's about having deals in your pocket. And it's sad that we've gotten to that point. But I'll say it again, Rome lasted for 507 years. Rome forgot who they were, and they crumbled because of that. And I'm not saying that our country is ever in a position where that could happen, but I do think that we're already in a position where our country's in big trouble, and that trouble is only going to continue to compound unless we remember who we are, what we were founded on. That's really the biggest thing I can say about it. And look, it's only going to get more intense from here as we get further and further. And I think one of the reasons why this is such a heated and contested election is just because we're in that our fate really does hang in the balance. And the mere fact that we don't have a surefire candidate that we can all agree upon, and that usually, we can always be civil about things. Just because you don't like a candidate doesn't mean that they don't have good ideas. But I really think that the reason why there's so much venom across both sides is because both of them, there's so much uncertainty with both of them. And I really think that the world is watching us, and the world has always been watching us. But now the world is watching with an even more keen eye, because we are in a point at our history where we are starting to forget who we were and what we were founded on. And to me, that's one of the saddest things of all. But the day calls for a new wave of patriotism, and I think for people that are always going to be there to stand up, and we're in a need of new patriots today. And I don't know what my life has in store for me, but I do know that whatever I do with my life, it'll be for my country, and I will be there doing whatever I have to do to make sure that we remember who we are, what we were founded upon, and that's the strength that we need to carry us into the future. But until the next time, Joe Archino here. Please follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino. You can follow me also on Instagram, Jersey_Joe_Archino. And I'll see everybody in the next episode.